There are three major muscles in our glute complex. So we have our glute max, our glute med, and our glute min. All three of those muscles can lengthen, and all three of those muscles can contract at the same time. So I'm giving you two exercises here that are banned for your book. One is a hinge-based movement, which focuses on lengthening all those tissues in the glute and then contracting all those tissues in the glute. And the other one is a quad-based exercise with the glute, where we're going to look at a curtsy, step off and back on. Again, lengthening those tissues and shortening those tissues in the hip. For our B-Stance Hinge, we are looking to get length into all the tissues in the posterior hip, while freezing degrees of freedom at the knee. So for this exercise, I'm going to set it in a B stance. So the non-working leg, I'll take the inside of that heel to touch the back of the heel of the working leg, and then just straighten that foot up, so most of my weight is on the front working leg. I want to take my nose over my big toe, so there's a straight line through my nose, my belly button, and over my big toe, so I'm shifted on top of that leg. That's going to give the first part of tissues the length in the hip. So from there, I'm going to bend my knee to where it feels comfortable. I don't want to be feeling pain in my knee here, so just limit that if you feel pain in the knee as it bends forward. The weight wants to be through my mid-foot, so I want to be hip on top of the foot to start. So again, straight line from my ear, through my pelvis, and then over my ankle. From that position, I'm going to hinge to get length in the hip. So I'm going to keep my spine nice and long. I don't want to flex and I don't want to extend excessively. I want to try and stay quite neutral through my spine here, and then hinge over like a pecking bird. So getting lots of length through the tissues in this hip, and then bringing that hip back over my foot. Notice my knee doesn't move as I hinge. I keep the weight over the midfoot, get lots of length through the hip, and then bring the hip back over and on top, which will shorten the glute. The hinge will give us hip flexion, which lengthens the glute, and the extension comes from the hip, not from the spine. From the front, there will be a little bit of rotation as well. So as I hinge over into the position, that back knee will drop, or my pelvis will rotate towards the front leg. I don't want to over-rotate my ribs, so it's not my spine rotating from here. It's my pelvis dropping down to add a little bit more length into that hip. My belly button should be facing towards my midfoot, and then extending again through the hip to come back through. I'm using my hand here on the crease of my pelvis and my hand on my glute to feel length in my glute, and just to guide that movement with the hip. I should feel my hip pinching my fingers as I get into that deep position to lengthen all those tissues in the glute. The curtsy step off is a great exercise to train the glutes in a lengthened and shortened position, while loading the quad and getting some really excellent movement happening through the foot, the shin, the femur, the hip, and the pelvis. So what we're going to look to do here is find a height that's comfortable to start. We don't want to make this too big of a movement that we lose balance and fall over. I'm starting with a 12-inch box here, but you can start much lower as you start to build the movement and get more room in the hip over time. So with this exercise, naturally, as I step off, I'm going to shift my weight over the working leg. So if I was to train my left leg here, I'm going to shift my weight towards the left as I step my right foot off the box, around, touch the ground, and then drive back to that start position. So I'm going to step around. You're going to see lots of different things happening at my pelvis here. Touch, and then drive back through. That lowering phase is going to lengthen my glutes in 3 dimensions. And then as I come back through, I'm going to get a contraction of my glutes. From the side, we will see a slight hinge and a knee bend. We can reach the other arm out in front, get that nice reach, and then come back. That'll extend both extremities from each other, giving us way more glute here. You'll see that lengthens, and then come back through. Reach if you want, and you want to balance more, We can add a knee raise, which contracts that glute even more. In the frontal plane, as we come through, reach and contract as we drive up.